So if anyone tunes in with chat, we can get that going. He's really interested in seeing the delay between the camera and what he does.
And
we'll get the events up here so we can give credit where credit is due to my wonderful supporting followers. Followers, we strike at midnight.
Why are you now on the NSA watch list?
You think I'm just now on the NSA watch list? Okay. So, hey everyone, how's it going? K42 here. I'm with Heledon or Mike. It feels weird to call you Michael. I've known this guy for several years. He's my dungeon master for D&D. Just D&D.
Let's clarify that statement.
Yeah, let's not.
I charge extra for the other thing.
Oh.
You went with the George Takei, oh my,
I really did. Yeah.
Bastard.
For some reason it didn't play, but
the hazards of live theater, folks.
Are you broken? Why are you broken?
Oh my.
There we go. See? What was wrong with that? Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Anyways. Where are my glasses? Whatever.
He's not Velma, so it's okay.
My glasses! I can't see without my glasses. My glasses! I can't be seen without my glasses.
Or the guy from the guy with glasses from the Mummy.
Yeah. Anyways. So yeah, he plays D&D with me. And he's been doing his own thing on the writer, blogger, Patreon front, which all of those are much more connected than it sounds like when you put it into a sentence. Like, if you do one, you really should be doing the others.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got your own series on Amazon, right?
Yep. I have 2 books from one series on Amazon. The third one should be going out this week, if I can get the schedule together, but it should be going out this week.
Okay. So, it's Thursday right now, so are we saying tomorrow? Are we saying Sunday?
Saturday, probably.
Saturday?
That's what
okay.
I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for Saturday. It should be coming out. It's a fantasy series based around a city trapped by the plague, basically, and all the shenanigans that go on there. I'm generally aiming for a more, let's just say, more lighthearted than you would find in, say, like Game of Thrones. Not that takes much, but still.
So we heard it here first. More lighthearted than Game of Thrones. I'm surprised to hear of such a thing.
That does happen in fantasy every so often.
But yeah, and that's your fantasy series. You have a second series going on, right?
Yeah, there's also a superhero series that I've got going on. First book's out. These are all on my author page on Amazon. Just look up Michael Dennis.
Also linked in the chat for anyone who wants to see that. You can put in !M Dennis and it'll pop back with the Patreon and Amazon author page.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a superhero series.
It is essentially fantasy, let's be honest. Yes.
Yeah, but expectations.
Yes, true. But yeah, it's also a superhero series about basically a new team of superheroes coming out after an old team had to disband for various reasons that I'm not going to go into because I don't want to spoil anything.
Fair enough. So is it like kind of a Young Justice kind of
pretty much
series?
Pretty much. I don't know how else to describe. The main character in the first book is a cyborg grizzly bear. So actually, she's a cyborg polar bear. That's right. I changed that.
Cyborg polar bear sounds like badass more than anything. Kitsune24 says how is it basically fantasy? Oh. Can't take you seriously if the character hasn't been brutally murdered.
Hey, to be fair to George R.R. Martin, he at least goes to the first chapter before he kills anybody.
That's weak sauce.
Anybody we care about, let's put it that way.
I happen to know Kitsune has a series where they don't go further than the dust cover before anyone gets murdered. It's a Cthulhu-esque version of the Scooby Gang.
Oh, gods.
It's awesome from what I hear.
Well, if you're going to call it Cthulhu, that's a whole other kettle of fish. I almost said bettle of fish. What the hell is a bettle?
Whole other sack of potatoes.
Yeah. I've read a horror story about a sack of potatoes. It was terrifying. I'll show it to you sometime.
I've seen a horror movie on a Thanksgiving turkey. It was disturbing.
Gods.
But yeah, I thought it would be interesting to just kind of sit down and talk for a little while and discuss kind of like you've got this awesome series that's going on. You also have a blog on writing stuff.
Yep.
On writing themes and
Yep. The blog's mostly about it's about different aspects of writing, different things when it comes to everything from my pet peeves to certain genres to just things that writers should keep in mind. Like the most recent one was about tone. I hate writing about tone because it's a pain in the neck because it's so hard to define.
Also, you gotta figure if you're going in support of tone or if you're going against tone or
Flick.
The Meddling Kids, is that the name of the book? Meddling Kids, the Cthulhu Scooby Gang.
Of course it is. It's like playing Paranoia. If someone hasn't been killed before the first mission session, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, Paranoia, for anyone who doesn't know, is a tabletop RPG.
A tabletop comedy RPG taking place in an underground post-apocalyptic setting, which is run by a giant computer system. Unregistered mutants are illegal, secret societies are illegal, and you're a troubleshooter working for the computer who is both.
Exactly. So, basically Russia during the Cold War.
Or North Korea.
Or North Korea.
God, that should not be applicable. It really shouldn't. Anyone who's read that series will be immediately terrified.
Or Disney World. Just need to watch for snipers now.
It is the happiest snipers on Earth.
But I really like Paranoia because it to transition. This is going to be just blatant transitioning all over the place, but the setting isn't something you see around very often. Like
No.
It's hard enough to write about, but to play through, you need a certain type of DM and a certain type of player who's willing to just go with the madness.
Right. Paranoia is not a world that makes a lot of sense if you stop and think about it, which is why you don't stop and think about it. You just roll with it.
Exactly.
If you're not willing to do that, I'd find a different game. Because it's one of those games where if you're not willing to roll with the concept, you'll get nowhere.
So transitioning off of that, I thought we would have a discussion on kind of what RPG systems, because I've played D&D, you've played D&D for years.
If you're playing RPGs and haven't played D&D yet, I have to question what you're doing.
Right, like but the funny thing about that is, for a lot of people, it's not their favorite system. Like, a lot of people are purists or something or another, and they've got some alternative that they go to D&D. But everyone kind of just returns to it because it's comfortable, because it's the biggest one out there, and almost everyone has started with it because it's an easy entry point. But
it's also the most adaptable. It's the one system where the system isn't tied as directly into the world. So you can so if you want to file off the serial numbers and just make it into another setting, you can do that. And
completely.
That's the open D20.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
For our setting was we literally took the D&D 3.5 rules, added in our own gods, our own monsters. None of the end bosses that I made for you guys were pre-generated in the books, which, there's a whole discussion to be had on DMs using pre-gen versus their own creations.
Right.
Neither of which are really a bad idea.
Yeah, and at that point it boils down to
That's what?
huh?
I don't believe that. Adrian has donated $50,000. I think that's the emote thing happening.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say we're splitting that 50-50, right?
I mean, yeah.
Aw.
I
don't get our hopes up.
Is fake. Don't trust. Now, why are you telling me that? No, I mean, welcome to the stream, Energy Adrian. Good job catching my attention.
Seriously.
I was trying to tell if that was a $5 donation that was getting messed up on the thing, but anyway.
Probably should double check that before the credit card company gets a hold of it.
No, it's just in chat.
Yeah, I figured.
But anyways, to what we were talking about, D&D. Everyone has done D&D, but there are so many good systems. Like you and I, particularly, in the group we've been doing, in person, not online. We've been experimenting around with other systems. We've done Scion. We've done,
which is a White Wolf system for those of you those of you not familiar. Which means it's a D10 system. Little elaborate in the combat,
right.
A little elaborate in the rolling, but the world is amazing, which is something White Wolf's always been good at.
Yeah, so we've done that. We've done Call of Cthulhu, which is self-explanatory. We've done a little bit of Fate, even.
Yeah.
And we did Mutants and Masterminds. And then we had actually someone else run a Feng Shui game for us, which is just 80s Kung Fu action awesomeness.
And probably the only system I've run into so far, besides maybe Fate, that's simpler than D&D.
Yes.
The others are more complex in different ways when it comes than D&D, but both Feng Shui and Fate are much simpler.
Fate is so weird because it's that same sort of thing where you need a certain type of DM and a certain type of player. Like D&D, you can go rules light or you can go rules heavy. It can adapt to multiple types of players
and multiple DMs. Whereas with Fate, you really need
just the story-driven people, because if you're going rules heavy, there aren't any solid rules in Fate. It's a guideline. It's pirate codes.
Yeah. It's
more of a guideline, really.
Yeah, it's it boils down to roll some dice. DM sets up a DC, and then we go from there. That's it, really. There aren't any more solid rules than that.
So, out of all of the RPG games you've seen, though, not even just the ones I've talked about,
gods,
other than D&D, what's your favorite? Which one do you want to play? Which one do you keep coming back to?
That's a tough one. There's always two I want to come back to and play more of. I always want to play more Scion. I love Scion. I love the world behind it. The rules are a pain in the neck, but for what they do and what they can set up, because Scion basically says, all the awesome stuff you see other people doing or NPCs doing in other games,
the epic war leaders.
Yeah, no. You get to be the NPC this time. You get to do the cool shit. At the end, if you turn to a god, you want to just turn into a giant monster of fire that eats everything in front of you. Yeah, okay, you can do that.
Which, for anyone, because I kind of rushed through the list, Scion is where you're literally playing as scions of multiple pantheons of gods.
Yeah.
You are playing as the child of a god from, whatever your choice of god is. Greek pantheon, Norse. I played as a Japanese son of Susanoo.
Yeah, they have. They have this. The spy books also included rules for the Chinese, Japanese, Chinese, Indian, and Chinese, Indian, and there was a third one that completely escapes me. Couldn't be that important.
Indian, like Native American, right?
No, Native Indian is not, as in the actual subcontinent of the actual Indian subcontinent.
Okay.
Actually from India.
And so like Vishnu and
Those
all
guys,
of that,
yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah. And there's and because the game's been around forever, there's plenty of fan-made stuff online for you to find. If you want a pantheon, you could probably find someone to help you make it,
which helps so much. It helps in just diversity of the players you can bring in. You can make whatever you want. So, for me, like, I really enjoyed Scion, but I got really overpowered really fast, and it's not that I'm a rules-heavy player by any stretch, but I want some amount of challenge when I play a game. For that reason, I really liked Call of Cthulhu, actually a lot more than I expected to when I played it. Because when we went into it, I was expecting, everyone talks about how much you die when you play Call of Cthulhu.
And that can happen, because the thing is, the monsters you face in Call of Cthulhu are far more powerful than you will ever be in that game. There's really no way to fight them on an even level. But for a good Call of Cthulhu campaign, you don't fight most of the monsters. You fight maybe one monster the entire session.
Yeah.
You fight, most of the time you're going up against, if you're fighting, you're going against cultists who are other just regular humans. Maybe they have one spell, but that's about it. Or you're just talking to people. You're role-playing.
And it did a really good job of making me feel powerful, but in over my head. Because I remember the guy I played had plenty of good rolls, just doing stuff around the city, and then the monster came around, and
it's like
it was a really tense situation.
Oh yeah, because the monster they fought was a color from outer space. Those things don't get hurt by guns. It's like bang bang. Time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only had one casualty during that fight, and that was because of another player.
Shotgun to the face.
It was an elephant gun, even. Long story.
In terms of just the setting and wackiness, though, I really enjoyed Besm, which is Big Eyes, Small Mouth.
Besm is a lot of fun.
It's a tri-stat system. Are they? They're the 2d8 guys, right? Are they?
Is Besm 2d8? I haven't played in a while. I haven't looked at the rules.
Yeah.
And you're our DM for the bloody system.
I know that you roll 2d something to determine most of your stuff. And it's a little amorphous. It's one of those also that you need the players to be really willing to go in and go all out, but it's just so free in what it lets you make. It's completely anime based, so you have to make an anime character, but beyond that, you can make whatever anime character you want.
I was gonna say, it's like you make an anime character. That sounds limiting. Have you seen anime?
Right,
literally
anime
has everything.
runs the gamut. You can make a...
It's like saying you need to make a comic book character. That doesn't limit me much at all.
And that's actually what Mutants and Masterminds reminded me of, is Besm, because of the way that you're crafting your character. You throw in skill points, you combo skill points together to make a final product that...
Yeah, and it's basically the difference between a more rules direct game like, say, Dungeons and Dragons, something like Besm, where you're where it'll provide you basically what's a menu of stuff you can do, and then you just put it together to do the kind of stuff you want to do. And the advantage to that is the character customization goes way up because you can do a lot more with it. In D&D, there's only so many different types of warlocks you can make, just because it's based on what you have available to you. But with something like Besm, there's almost no limit to what you can do. But the downside is it ups the amount of time it takes to create characters.
It really does. If you start playing it, for the record, anyone who's listening to this, Besm is out of print. We have an outdated rules system that we're using because we enjoy it. If you want to go looking for it, it's probably on RPG Drive-Thru. It's probably on some other parts of the net somewhere that I would not be able to link you to. But it's really fun, and there are other things that do well with it. I know that there's a Kickstarter coming out that is supposed to take some direction from it. But our friend Andrew has a link to that I need to get him to send me at some point. But things like that, if you're looking for something that's in print like that, I would say Mutants and Masterminds, where you're really creating your end character. You're not putting skills points into individual skills, you're putting them into the finished product.
Right.
Like if you're taking Electroblast and Fire Blast and all of these individual skills, you're kind of doing it wrong. You want to take a package that creates a central hook for your character, and you want to take weaknesses. You want to take your kryptonite. You want to take that stuff.
Yep, and it's also a case of something like Mutants Masterminds tends to be a little more, and Bezin to a certain extent, to be more front loaded. You're not. It's not like D&D where you're buying starting levels and then you hope to be powerful by like level 20. You're already powerful to start with, and you get slightly better as you go on.
And it really lends itself to an extended campaign. You can have fun with one-shots in it, don't get me wrong, but when you come to those systems, they're really counting on you getting into the spirit of the genre. So, like, when we did Bezim, it took us, like, 4 sessions to start just pulling all of the anime tropes out of our minds. Like, we ended up doing just, like, the total tsundere character who didn't want to act like he cared about anyone, but really was just helping out in the back.
I was playing a martial artist Kitsune, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
it doesn't get more anime than that.
Well, but like even you were pulling out one-liners in the start, and that was pretty cool. But then later on, we were doing like we had accidentally made a harem.
That wasn't intentional. But
yeah, we accidentally made a harem anime. One of our players chose to be a guy, and everyone else just, without communicating, went all girls.
Yeah. Keep in mind, we don't usually communicate our characters before we design them. We just do them.
Yeah, no, that has never happened where we communicate our characters. I've tried to do that with you guys, and
it just doesn't happen.
No. But. By 3 sessions in, there were a lot more of like Torin's character doing the blush and calling people baka and like really getting into just the tropes of the genre, and it made it a lot of fun. And the same happens with Mutants and Masterminds. Like once you start going into the tropes of the sinister backstory of the anti-hero or the nothing to it, citizen, happy to help.
Oh yeah, or you start running into other heroes and you start interacting with them and you start building up reputations. The story basically starts telling itself to a certain extent, and that's the best thing about some of those games.
So that's why I really like those sorts of games. Big Eyes, Small Mouth, and Mutants and Masterminds, if you're looking for a more up-to-date version of that system.
Yep.
It's not anime, but it's the same system, sort of.
Yeah. And if you're looking for something just to have some fun one-shots with, because that does happen sometimes. You don't have time to get a full campaign together.
Oh god, no. Yeah.
Or the group's just not going to be consistent enough for that. One system I've run across that's really good for that is Toon, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a Saturday morning cartoon.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It's literally D6s. You roll them. If you roll under a certain number, you succeed. It's that simple. It's easy to get into. The characters basically write themselves. The scenarios write themselves.
I saw a card game that was meant to set up ideas for one-shots. So you would have a deck of scenarios, you would have a deck of names, you would have a deck of races and, like, modifiers, and you would draw a scenario and just move from there.
Yeah.
And then you would draw a character name whenever you needed a character and a race and all of these things.
Oh yeah.
And like I'm gonna need to look that up later because it wasn't just like it wasn't as haphazard as it sounds. Like they had actually codified things to where they made sense going together.
Yeah. But, you know, and like I said, Toon is probably one of the best I've ever read for one-shots simply because you've seen Saturday morning cartoons. Literally. Like,
I watched a Saturday morning cartoon today, actually.
There you go.
Con TV's running their Saturday morning run right now.
Oh, there you go.
Cops.
Have
you seen Cops? It is amazing. You should check that out.
Yeah, but it's just like, you know, one of the pre-generated adventures is literally a character trying to fall asleep and the DM stopping him. That's the entire adventure, and you've seen that episode before. It writes itself. It's great, and it's a great one shot for just one player. But there's all sorts of stuff like that in that game, and because it's a cartoon, and and because it's so easy to get into, there's not much to explain. You can literally just hand people their characters and say, "Okay, let's go."
Yep. There's a lot to be said for things like that.
Because we don't always have time or the ability to get a group together for a consistent campaign. It happens.
Yeah, no, especially as you get older, unfortunately. And then you hit this weird point where you get old enough that you do have free time.
And then you're like, well, what the hell do I do now? Because I haven't had free. It's like I haven't had free time in 20 years. What the hell? What do I do now?
So let's see. We're gonna get to in a little while. We're gonna get to playing Heroes of Might and Magic. I wanted to get a tabletop going, and I'm gonna be doing this weekly on a Thursdays thing. So you can come. You can talk about your blog or whatever you've been doing.
Sure.
Because it's enjoyable to have you around and play games with you. But before we get to Heroes of Might and Magic, I also wanted to discuss what's some settings that you like settings that don't get used often, because everyone does fantasy Tolkien stuff, like or Game of Thrones stuff, which is Tolkien in a dark tone.
It's the way I describe Game of Thrones is it's realistic fantasy with a more political bent.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Like, when you're getting to the dark tone of fantasy, it's generally just fantasy that's trying to keep some realism, which I like. Don't get me wrong. I love that.
I appreciate that. I just don't appreciate it being everywhere.
Yeah.
Back under the table.
Sometimes you want your fantasy.
Yeah. It's like back under the table. But it happens in every genre where somebody gets popular, then all the imitators come out.
So what I thought, though, we could do is we could come up with a setting that we don't see very much and come back next week with a write-up of a character or a game in this setting. So I'm gonna just go right off the bat with mine. My setting that I don't think I've ever seen, actually, which I would love to see, is science fantasy without the science is the best way. Fantasy in space.
Star Wars.
No, because Star Wars still does spaceships and stuff. I want to see magic taking people to the moon, taking people across the universe. I want to see, magicians pioneering the pioneering. And take dragons out to the other planets. It's very similar to transdimensional fantasy, like different planes and stuff, but you can get such a huge... Yeah, you can get such a hugely different theme.
It's like taking Spelljammers to the next level.
Yeah, a lot like that. I would love to see, just a group of adventurers going at it.
For the record, if you guys know of any adventures or systems that do this, let us know.
Oh yeah, please.
Because the internet's a massive place and we miss this shit.
And send this to me via Twitch, via anything. I would love to see this. But I would love to write up something for that. Where Yeah, especially because even if you limit it down to our own solar system, you have so much just thematic use in that. You have, Jupiter's fury and the epicness of the rings of Saturn and Neptune's storms and all of that. Like the lush, you can make Venus this awesome
lush planet,
right,
like people in science fiction back in the day thought it was.
Well, and exactly, like sci-fi used to think that Venus was a lush planet, and Destiny sort of does that where they make Venus a jungle, but you can combine in what we know about it now. You can make it a lush planet with acid rains
lush
coming
jungle
down.
lush jungle that still might kill you.
Kitsune says, we launched our magic missiles towards the Earth, and backlash slammed us into the moon. Thankfully, our spells held.
I love it.
That's actually, yeah. Something like that. That would be awesome. And you can have different tribes and the lesser, like, tribes of barbarians on the moons of Jupiter and stuff like that. It would be so awesome to see all of this without any of the
normal science fiction trappings.
Right, which includes the politics and the stuff that you don't see in fantasy.
True.
Like, and that stuff has its place. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it would be so original. That's going to be kind of what I aim at, because that's really held my interest for a little while.
Yeah, the one setting I've never seen done well, and just I don't see done very often, at least in RPGs, is any type of ocean-based setting, and I mean that in a million different ways. Like you could do anything from the Golden Age to pirates. You could do World War I or World War II for God's sakes, if you want to go that far. You could do the Cold War. You just do Hunt for Red October. I'd kill for that.
I will say I've seen that once, and it was well done. But. And you've probably seen this too, but that was Seventh Sea.
I've heard of it. I've never actually played it or looked at it. But
I looked at the world. I actually sent in a short story to be published by their creators. It didn't get chosen.
No.
It was a side project. Whatever. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. But yeah, like. Ocean stuff, or
my favorite ocean-based setting is Sunless that I've ever seen is Sunless Sea, which is the Fallen London setting. If you've ever heard of that, it's an underground sea that's Cthulhu-esque and also steam-based, and it combines all this different stuff. It's like you have the open sea to work with. Why are you not doing something with it?
Well, and like that's the thing, like. Because you say Sunless Sea, and I happen to know we both love that game, but at the same time, it's a little disappointing when you see this potential for something else that would be awesome in the same context.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not like you dislike what's come out. It's just like
there's so much more. There's a lot else you could do with it too.
Why can't I have both? I want my cake and to eat it too.
Exactly. Or, another game I've seen that does it, but still doesn't do a ton with its ocean setting is there's a game I'm reading, Ironclaw, which is a fantasy series. It's a low magic series with anthropomorphic animals. It takes place during the Age of Discovery. They still don't do much with the ocean. Why? It's the Age of Discovery, people. We're coming up with the Renaissance. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, that.
It's like. And I've always been, and it's one of the things that's always disappointed me about D&D is their ocean-based stuff, because it's like, it's barely there.
I remember I actually really thought about doing an ocean-based setting for you guys. That's one of those campaigns that we never had time for, but the 3.5 had a whole prestige class based on captaining a ship. Like, if you took this prestige class, in a normal party, you were an idiot. But the morale boosts and the strategic boosts, it gave circumstance bonuses to crews, to armies, to that sort of thing. And it was completely meant for on the sea's navigation. And I thought that was just such a great class. I really wanted to use them, and that's what I was hoping. That's what I was hoping to transition to. At one point, I sent our party against the. I don't think you were there for that, but we sent them against Kraken, and they weren't totally into it. So I kind of transitioned away. But I was so disappointed because we didn't have a chance to explore it.
Yeah, like I'm working on a campaign right now for Scion that's basically the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, island hopping, boats, all this good adventure stuff. Hell, the adventure starts in Hawaii. Like, come on.
So we will. So I've got sci-fi without the sci.
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy in space.
Mm-hmm. Star Wars to the next, Spelljammer to the next level, folks.
Yeah, and you've got fantasy ocean setting.
I can see that working.
Okay. So we've got our assignments. And again, if anyone sees anything about that, please send that our way. We say this because we want to see more.
Seriously.
Not because we don't want to have our bubbles bursted.
Yeah,
please, burst our bubbles.
Seriously, it's like, oh, did you read about this whole game that does that? No, send it over. That's why I'm practically collecting RPGs.
Oh yeah. And boy, do I appreciate it.
Keeps things interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it always means that you have something to play.
That's... So, with that being said, you're... The interesting setting we have going on right now that I like that we're doing is our D&D campaign.
Yeah.
Which is...
D&D crossed with Cthulhu. I literally grabbed the Cthulhu creatures and I dropped them in D&D.
It's high fantasy, but with the old ones put in, like Lovecraftian, not just Cthulhu.
Yep, they literally just fought Glaxi a couple weeks ago.
And boy, that was fun.
Mr. Psionic here spent all his psi points and then had to fight a Slod.
Literally dumped everything into killing this guy. I was completely drained after.
First time that's happened in this campaign.
I would like to state that I succeeded in a psychic battle against him.
That's true, you did.
Which is kind of what I like. Like it's a little Warcraft in that sense, because Warcraft does the old ones as well.
But you can fight them.
Right, exactly. It's less Call of Cthulhu where it's focused on the horror and more just focused on how awesome this group this lore is and how you could incorporate it into a standard fantasy setting.
For the record, I found a cat.
Yeah, there's the squeaker. Squeaker is a squeaker. Oh, wait.
Okay, I'll pet you.
There we go.
I'll pet you.
Squeak, squeak, squeak. I still love that emote. Really happy with it. So with that being said, we're going to transition now over to playing Heroes of Might and Magic because...
For the record, I've never played this series, but I have played Age of Wonders, so I hear it's similar.
And you should be able to pick it up pretty quickly. It's kind of a mix of 4X strategy games and tactics RPG games. So, I think you'll really dig it. I think it's right up your alley. And we're going to do some co-op scenarios. We're not going to go through the main game, I don't think, the main campaign setting. But like I said earlier, I was thinking about getting a tabletop stream going for us, and then I realized that I didn't pick up a tripod, so not much
Had to get
do.
creative, folks.
Tabletop-wise. So I figured we'd play a in-person digital intricate board game setting.
Sounds good.
So I'm gonna get Heroes of Might and Magic booted up. We're gonna grab a couple of cups of water. Everyone say hi to the Squeakster!
Say hi, Squeak! No, okay.
She said bye. But I'm gonna get that booted up. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm gonna hope to get this being a more regular thing. And this was kind of a trial run, really, but
They literally just decided on this like Sunday.
yes, literally. And I actually forgot about it for a couple of days. So, but anyone has anything
You're so needy.
they would like to, send in
You're
to
so needy.
for us to look at or anything like that, I would happily take a look at it. Otherwise, yeah. Thanks for watching. Again, go check out Heledon's stuff. He is Michael Dennis.
Yep.
He is an author on Amazon, author of the Gathering of the Shadows and the Urban Cohorts series. And check out his Patreon. He is Michael Dennis there as well.
Yes.
And you can command, that's !M Dennis, for those links.
Yep.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a good day. If you're looking to stick around for some Heroes of Might and Magic, look forward to some stupid plays.
Hey!
I was talking about me.
Oh, well.
See you guys in a second.